Thank you for joining me for Poetry is Prayer. My name is Ania Elbert. I am a spiritual director. Middle Way Urban Monastery's hope is to provide a space, albeit virtually at this point, to dabble with one's own spirituality with some solid guidance from spiritual directors from all walks of life. At Middle Way, our mission is to provide space for those seeking hope, comfort, and peace as they explore ways of experiencing God's love. Our focus is Christian spirituality, but all are welcome. Over the next few Saturdays in June, I will invite you to listen to a poem with me. I will invite you to consider using the poem as a prayer. The older I get and the more aware I am of language, or should I say the lack of language I have at times, I turn more and more to the poets. Poet Carolyn Forsch writes that poetry is the voice of soul, whispering, celebrating, singing even. That's why for me, poetry is a way of praying, because it is the voice of my soul. Today, on our first gathering, I am dedicating this poetry reading to a friend and colleague who is making a change and moving home. I first heard the poem Fire in 2014 at a conference I was attending called Kindling. At that conference, I heard a speaker who kindled a flame in me. The speaker later became a colleague and a friend. As in any relationship, you are presented at times with an opportunity and sometimes challenged. I was given also the gift of beautiful conversation and the process of relationship, of being challenged, of the gifts of good conversation, taught me how to create the space to keep the fire burning. I am a notorious helper. Anne Lamott has said, helping is the sunny side of control. So there are times that I seem to want to pile too much wood on top of the fire. So now I invite you to sit back and close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths. Allow your shoulders to soften. Unclench your jaw. Then allow this poem to melt over you. The poem I am reading today is titled Fire, and it is written by Judy Brown. The poet has given me permission to use her poem today. Fire. What makes a fire burn is space between the logs, a breathing space. Too much of a good thing, too many logs packed in too tight can douse the flames almost as surely as a pail of water would. So building fires requires attention to the spaces in between as much as to the wood. When we are able to build open spaces in the same way we have learned to pile on logs, then we can come to see how it is fuel and absence of the fuel together that make fire possible. We only need to lay a log lightly from time to time. A fire grows simply because the space is there, with openings in which the flame that knows just how it wants to burn can find its way. Another poet, Annie Dillard, wrote, "Our life is a faint tracing on the surface of mystery." This week, I invite you to begin, or for some of us to begin again, to begin the process of looking at the faint tracings in your life where mystery is present. Whether it's your morning cup of coffee, while you're walking the dog, or that moment between opening your eyes for the start of a new day. I would also invite you to include this poem or a poem throughout your week. It doesn't have to be complicated. You can explore poetry through a podcast titled On Being's Poetry Podcast. Not all poems whisper to our souls, but the ones that do seem to linger long after we have encountered them. Thank you so much for being here today.